Oh yeah, serious Jest, your favorite drunk backseat driver. That's what we're
Backseat
about to
drunk,
do
backseat
today.
driver. So you're backseat twice. You're all the way in the trunk at that point.
Oh,
I like
yeah,
it.
I'm in the trunk, yelling at you from the trunk. Let me out of here. I'm drunk.
That was my fault. I should not have put you in the trunk. I apologize for that. But
Yeah,
that's how you
always
know
take
how you get
advantage.
when you get drunk, Jess.
That's true. I can't blame you. I can't blame you. Hey, you ready to play some more video games?
I am always ready to play some more video games, dude. You know that.
Let's do this shit.
Let's do it. All
So,
right.
if you're not familiar with Ready Player 2, this is basically our We Play Video Games Together project that we do. We got a regular podcast. Look out for that. I'll type that information into the chat room in a little bit. We call this is our playthrough of Detroit Become Human.
Yes.
If you have not seen any of these prior episodes and you're watching this like not live, then we urge you to stop. You psychopath, don't start with mission 20. Go back to mission 1, watch that shit, and then catch up. Now, yeah, but just skip through to the storyline. If you want to get caught up fast, you don't want to watch hours and hours of listening to us talk. Which why wouldn't you? Again, then you're a sociopath. Everybody likes to listen to us talk. But
Right.
go ahead and just watch the gameplay parts at least, which last like 5 to 10 minutes.
Yes. It's
for
not
each one,
hyperbole.
and
It's
just get
literally
caught
5
up.
to 10 minutes.
Yeah,
And then we
yeah,
talk for
real.
like 3 hours about it. But it's totally fine.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're not exaggerating at all. But mission 20 is where we are now. Hopefully you're all caught up. You've watched those videos, and let's get the party started right after a word from our alcoholic sponsors. What you
Yes.
drinking there, CraigMakk?
All right. So, as you know, by the way, when you say from our alcoholic sponsors, it definitely sounds like we have a way bigger problem than well, actually, that's probably actually completely accurate. I'm going to stick with that. That's
Yeah,
probably fine.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so if you have been listening to this show at all, you may know that I, throughout the month of February, had decided to do a bit of a dry month. I decided to rein it in after the holidays and
Man,
Christmas
he wasn't
parties.
using lube.
Oh, really? Again, I love it. It's a new. I guess it's
See,
every episode
the
is
joke
somebody's
never
first
gets old.
episode. You never know. Somebody is at home like, oh, those guys are hilarious. But
No lube? Where did he get them from?
oh yeah, ROFOL. They're just rolling all over laughing. They can't believe how funny we are. But so the thing is, I decided after the holidays and drinking. Hey, what's up, Dodd? Dodd's in the room. What's going on, buddy?
Nice. What's
Dodd
up,
showed up.
man?
What's going on, buddy? All right, so long story short, I had decided after all of the the holiday drinking that basically starts right around Halloween and then goes all the way through until the end of January with like post-holiday holiday parties and all that shit. Way too much alcohol for CraigMakk, so I decided to take the month off of drinking altogether. That was February, and then I decided, man, I feel really, really good not drinking. Like, this is a really good feeling for me. I enjoy the way I feel when I'm not having alcohol anymore. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't fucking extend it into March. That would be insane. So no, now it's fucking March, so all bets are off. I decided, go fuck yourself, alcohol problem. I'm going right back to drinking. So what I decided this time, I chose. We have talked about the brewery before. It's actually a relatively local brewery for us, but it's a pretty big one. People in the Northeast may have heard of it or been there. It's one of the larger brew pubs in the area. It's the Iron Hill Brewery. Jess, have you been to the Iron Hill Brewery?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I don't think I've been there, but I know it. I mean,
Yes.
I've had alcohol from there. I've had beer from there.
yes, so Iron Hill Brewery, the original one down, I believe, in Wilmington, Delaware, and now they're kind of all over in Jersey and kind of all in the general kind of tri-state area and probably even farther at this point. I'm not sure, but they started not too long ago to do they also started canning. So they have one that they call, it's the Cannibal, and it's their Belgian ale. And I highly
see what
recommend.
they did there.
Yes, and I highly recommend for you, bud. You should Google the can art because it is fucking awesome. It's like
We'll do
it's
that.
like a
We'll do that right now.
monster like fish. It's like this fish monster, kind of sea monster thing, coming out of the ocean and basically eating a diver with a spear, and it's just gigantic. Like it's just this whole huge
shit,
monster
that's
coming out
dope
of the
as
water in the
fuck.
back. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And it's all over the can, so it
It's
looks like
all the way
it's like
wraparound.
Monster
Yep.
energy drink style.
Yes.
That's pretty
yeah,
dope.
It's very cool. So this one is the Cannibal 7.8 alcohol by volume, and it's breathe
Nice.
easy. The only thing to fear here is that you may never taste another beer as refined as this. With complex flavors and a finish accented by tropical notes and dry spice, there's a lot more to this Belgian-style ale than its subtle golden hue suggests. So that is the Cannibal. And
Nice.
yep, Iron Hill. So I'm going to check this guy out right now. Pop this open, 7.8. Let's see. All right. Oh, bubbled up right away. I like that. You smell that? Wow. Okay. So you can smell definitely the kind of like the fruity kind of hoppy, a little bit of the pine on the back end part, but that's way less. I know we've talked recently of your kind of more piney hoppy or piney IPA beers or hoppy type style beers, and your ones that are a little bit more on the bitter kind of tropical citrus fruit side. This one is definitely more on the citrus fruit kind of tropical fruit end, at least the smell. But this smells like one you would want to chug a little bit. So I'm going to try this right now and let you know. Oh wow, yeah. So this one is you can definitely get on the back end is the fruit flavor, which is kind of cool. It's like it's got a sweet flavor on the finish, but on the front you kind of get a little bit more of I guess like the spiciness, like that spicy kick to it. So you get a little bit of a burn on your tongue right as it's passing, right as you're taking that first sip, and then you start to taste some of the citrus and kind of hoppiness, and then on the back end it almost tastes like a fruit, almost like a tropical salad or something like that, like a fruit salad on the as the last finish. It's really good.
Oh,
This
wow.
is awesome, and it does not taste. I mean, 7.8. It tastes. It tastes 7.8 is right in that sweet spot, right where it could taste. It could taste like it's 8.5, but it could taste like it's 6%, and it could be something that you could drink all day long. And this one tastes way more like the 6%, so it's like perfect. It's like got a nice little that kick to it, but it doesn't taste like something where I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna be wrecked after a few of these. Maybe I will be, but it doesn't taste like that, which is awesome.
Right.
So I'm going to enjoy the shit out of this, man.
Nice.
How about you? What are you drinking?
All right, on my end, I'm having. This is a brewer that I really, really like because they are the guys that put out Mad Elf, right? Trogs. Yes. So I love Trogs because Mad Elf is maybe my favorite beer of all time. Maybe. At this point, I haven't had it in like a year or two or whatever. But yeah, Dodd, you should grab it. Look here. So Dodd is super sick and tired. But what I say, Dodd, is the best way to get over that is just drink. And we've got what's going to make you feel better at this point. We're about to take you to a strip club, and you should get your beer and drink with us. So, all right. Anyway, back to this. Troig's put out this beer called the Troganator, and it's a double Bock beer.
Nice.
And I would defer. So the color is bronze. It's the hops are Magnum from the German Northern Brewer. All of this is directly on each bottle. Yep. On each 12-ounce bottle. The ABV on this is 8.2%, and the IBUs are 25. And it even tells me when this is freshest to buy, which would be sometime in April, so I better hurry up and drink these.
Nice.
And
running out of time, Jest. What are you doing talking?
Yeah,
Drink.
exactly. The thing on the bottle says, monks had fasting figured out. No food, no problem.
Nice.
Just drink a double Bock. Thick and chewy with intense notes of caramel, chocolate, and dried stone fruit. God damn, that sounds good.
Yes,
Niter, as we call them, serves as a tribute to this liquid bread style. So,
very bready.
Anything you want to say about double Bocks while I crack this bad boy open?
No, yeah, it's cool that was actually interesting that they throw that right on the bottle, because the whole thing about the double Bock and the monks, it's kind of cool. A lot of the monks that would brew, so you got like the Trappist beers and so on and so forth, like those kind of brewed within within the by the monks themselves. The whole thing that was always cool. That's why they brewed such heavy, thick, like they say, bready beers, because the whole thing was supposed to be your sustenance. I find that incredibly awesome, and it would make me be way more religious if I knew that was the move. That you're like, I'm not going to eat shit, but I'm going to just get drunk all the time with these badass fucking monks. I'm super down with the way they were living life back then, and I feel like we've gotten away from the main thrust of religion when we don't do that anymore. What's wrong with us? Let us know. How's it taste, man?
That's not really fasting to me if you're drinking heavy beer. Like they're tricking it, like, well, it's liquid, so it really doesn't count. That sounds like a weird rule that they made up, like, along with like telling like the nuns like, well, it's not really sex if we're doing it, just without any love involved or some shit like that. Some kind of weird rule. Anyway,
well, I guess they didn't want to die. They had to eat. They had to have something,
sure.
and they needed some sustenance. Sure. So there was the grain and everything within the beer was enough to be like. It's like saying, oh, well, I'm fasting, but so I'm allowed to have water and bread. Well, that's basically, beer is that plus a couple other awesome things, but you're half the way there already, so you might as well, it's not technically cheating by that rule.
It's all in the advertising, CraigMakk. That's what I've learned from my recent watching of most of Mad Men, which I'm not done with yet. So nice. No spoilers, please. Shout out to Dodd, who's drinking. Oh, nice. He's drinking a nice 10% Anderson Valley Bourbon Barrel Stout along with soup. So it's good shit.
I hope he mixes them into each other.
The smell, gross. The smell on this is just like they described it. It does, like, you hit the caramel with the chocolate, hits you right away, and then like on the back end in the smell, the dry stone fruit, you can actually smell that. And I don't agree with you, Dodd, on the Mad Men. I think it's actually a really good show. But so all right, I'm gonna take my first sip, see if it goes in my smell there. Well, not my smell, the smell of the beer. All right, so upon drinking it,
you stink.
Wow. So it's just like it smelled. The first thing I tasted was like a chocolate caramel beer, and I can even like taste even like the color of it. Like I could almost taste like a bronze beer with caramel and chocolate, and then the fruit came in on the back end. Craig, I love beers that change flavors like mid-drink.
Yes,
and
sir.
This is really good. And why am I even surprised? It's fucking Trogs.
Yep.
I love this brewer. I highly recommend this double bock beer, the Troganator. So
nice. What did you say?
Shit.
What's the ABV on that one?
I did, but it's 8.2.
8.2. Nice.
Wow.
All right, cool.
This is fucking solid beer, man. I'm really glad.
Right in the sweet spot. 7.8, 8.2. That's perfect.
Yes, sir. We'll save the Mad Men argument for another day, but I do want to catch Dodd up since he's watching live. In case you are not you haven't been following the previous all the previous chapters. I'm going to give you the really super basic how we got to where we are now. Connor is a hostage negotiator android that is supposed to help the police, like just as an overall kind of like support. Android for police and law enforcement, and he's assisting a detective who kind of hates androids because it's something unrevealed in his past. And this detective and this android are put against their will as the lead detectives on this case of these androids that have been superseding their programming and becoming awake. And they've actually caught one of them, who they interviewed, and they and they kind of had these mixed results where they were like learning that these things can, when pushed to a certain limit, they can buck their programming and really start having free will. But it seems like all androids on some level are having feelings they're discovering. So now they've been put on the trail of a few different androids who have gotten away. One of them, who happens to be another main character in this, escaped. And I think, Craig, if I'm missing anything on how they got directed to the Eden Club, I think it was a clue they found at one of the scenes.
Yeah, we found
if I'm not mistaken.
It was either a business card or what are those things called? Like a matchbook type thing that we found a couple things in that guy's room that he had his fake name with his fake. The one that we chased, one that I chased after that I couldn't. Yeah, the one that I didn't catch him, nor did you. But I chased after him. But he had a fake card, and then that card was like an Eden Club, business card or something like that. So we were like, all right, well, that's the next step. We're gonna go try to find that guy or find out more about him there.
Word. So I agree with Dodd. We've heard enough. Let's play.
Yes, sir. Let's do it. All right.
Now we have that awkward moment where you hit the let's play button, and then
all right. Are you guys ready?
Thing.
3, 2, 1. Let's play.
And
boo.
wait.
Stupid PS4.
You do get to look at this chick for a little bit. Nope. No, you don't.
Nope.
You have to stare at a spinning circle.
Nope. Spinning circle it is. And then it always
All
does this where it
right.
loads real slowly, and then all of a sudden it's like, poof, and it just, right, we're like, oh, well, we
Yeah.
might as well talk about some stuff beforehand, and then it just starts immediately up after that.
This
Welcome
is
to
like
the
AOL's.
welcome to the Android Sex Podcast. So, Jest, what do you think about Android sex?
Doggy style.
Yeah, all right, there we go. Perfect. That's a throwback to a previous episode. You have to go listen to that one to find out more about our thoughts on having sex with androids.
Don, I'm just kind of tired of first-person shooters, so I'm not even gonna try Anthem. It looked interesting to me, but I'm like, I just don't want to.
All right, here we go. Oh, there he goes, Connor. Oh, look, Hank's already fucking tired.
Feels like somebody's
Oh, that's right, he's
the
drunk.
drill inside my skull.
I forgot he's super hungover,
You sure this
or
is the
possibly
place?
still drunk.
It's the address in the report.
It's the address in the report.
Okay.
Let's go in there and get some pussy.
All right, Hank. Are you ready to go? Make sure you don't hit your ass on the way out. Hank is warm to me. All right, that's good. Software instability.
Just so we're clear, they hooked me up with 12 inches of hard Android
Sexiest androids
wing.
in town.
Sexiest androids in
I
town?
don't know why you insisted on coming.
Follow Hank.
Oh boy.
Oh, Hank's like fucking so upset. Oh, what the weird is this? This is like a weird Westworld when you walk in and they're just all lined up, all ready to fuck. I like it. Hey, how y'all doing? What's up? All right. Oh, I can look at them all individually. Ooh.
Connor!
All right, focus in on the guy.
Coming, Lieutenant.
Yeah. Yeah. Focus in on that guy.
Connor, what the
too.
fuck are you doing?
What's up? What's up? What's up? Connor, what the fuck, man? He got really upset about that.
Yeah.
I thought we were cool, bro.
Hey Ben, how's it going?
And he's still looking around at
That
people.
room there. Oh, by the way,
He's really excited.
Gavin's in there too.
Oh, great.
Oh, who's Gavin?
Dead body and an asshole, just what I need.
Dead body in an asshole. All right, where are we going?
Did you get to
Hank?
that part in Red Dead where he's like, Gavin! Gavin!
Yeah.
Gavin!
Oh, wow.
Lieutenant Anderson and his
Has
plan.
anybody
this is
seen an
Vic.
Englishman?
This is the Fick guy.
We've been assigned to
Oh,
cases
yeah.
involving androids.
Fick!
Oh yeah.
Fick.
Like wasting time.
What the fick are you two doing here?
Got more action than you
Gavin!
We'll have a
He
look
is
at it,
corny as
if you
fuck.
don't mind.
I mean, he is corny as Fick.
Come on, let's go. It's starting to stink of booze in here.
Oh, you're the worst. He's really annoying, huh?
Night, Lieutenant.
Even the regular cops have cool jackets. Do you see that guy's jacket in the back? The cop?
Yeah, that's pretty dope.
It was like moving around and shit looking. Alright, let's look at this. Who are you? Oh no.
Oh, hey! Oh, Connor, you're so disgusting. I think I'm gonna puke again.
You're so disgusting. He hates when Connor fucking licks the
Yeah.
shit. Diagnosis in progress. I like that shit on their hand when their hand goes up and scans back. Biocomponent critically damaged. Alright, let's see. Is there anything else I'm supposed to look at other than this? Dead guy. Get out of my way, Hank! Stop cock blocking the dead body.
Stick my third.
Alright, I got to look at these 3 clues. He had a heart attack. Cardiac arrest, no sign of cardiac event. Heart attack, not cause of death. Oh, weird. Alright. Surprising.
Heart attack. Heart attack.
Sign of strangulation, cause of death, asphyxiation. Oh no. Hey, look at his eyes. Michael Graham. His eyes did that weird fucking burst blood vessel shit. Alright, let's see. Oh. What happened there? Victim was strangled. Alright. So I figured that based on the asphyxiation thing, but okay.
Oh, Dad, you're being so literal. He's saying that's
I know.
disgusting.
Yeah, he's saying why would that bother him?
Yeah, because I'm sure he doesn't see people lick blood off of things.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure a cop who also sees dead bodies would be pretty bummed out if somebody just came over and licked the
Sort of
face
licking
of
the crime
like
scene.
blood.
He
Yeah.
didn't die of a heart attack.
You're like, what the
He was
fuck?
strangled.
Gross. I'm sure he's not
Yeah.
really gonna
I
puke.
saw
He's
the
just.
bruising on the neck.
Nope.
Doesn't prove anything, though. Could have been
What?
rough play.
I mean, not if you died
We're
of
missing something
asphyxiation. That feels like that's right. That's a weird thing to say. He's like, he didn't die of a
Read the
heart attack.
android's memory.
He died of strangulation.
what
And he's like, that doesn't
Well, yeah,
prove
because
anything,
one
though.
of them is like, oh,
Try.
yeah, it means he's probably murdered.
Yeah. Reactivation required. Oh, can I turn her back on? That's cool.
The only way to access its memory is to reactivate it.
Think you can do it?
Hell yeah, I can.
It's badly
motherfucker.
damaged.
Here
If
we
I
go.
can, it'll only be for a minute, maybe less.
You better be
Just
ready,
hope
dude.
it's long enough to learn something.
You better be ready, Hank. There's a lot of shit going on here I gotta do. Oh my god, a lot of button pressing here. Oh shit! Oh, she's bugging out. Oh, that's gotta be pretty freaky. You brought back so we can just ask you a few questions. Look! Vic, I shouldn't have taken a beer there.
You were damaged and I reactivated you. Everything is all right.
Is he dead?
Tell me what happened.
He started hitting me. Again
Talk faster, bitch!
and again.
Did you kill him?
No. No, it wasn't me.
Were you alone in the room? Was there anyone else with you?
He wanted us to play with two girls.
Fire,
That's what he
Vic!
said. There was two of us.
Where did the other android go? Did it say anything?
Answer, you bitch! God damn it! Motherfucker! Fire, Vic!
So there was another android.
Alright.
This happened over an hour ago. It's probably long gone.
Well, I got some good information
No.
out of this.
It couldn't go outside dressed like that unnoticed. It might still be here.
Think you could find a deviant among all the other androids in this place?
Oh, Hank's like, man, I'm getting a little bit of a
Deviants
stiffy
aren't
if you
easily
can.
detected.
Oh, shit. There's gotta be some other way. Maybe an eyewitness.
That was cool.
Somebody
I like
who
how he
saw it
started
leaving
getting,
the
like,
room.
Asking the questions like faster,
Maybe
like,
go ask
come
him
on!
a few
Can you
questions.
fucking tell me?
Yeah.
Where was he? Like, because
Let
he
me know
knew
if you
time was
think
running out.
anything.
That was pretty fat. Alright, let's see. Let's see what we gonna do
Did you know the
here.
victim?
Search for an android eyewitness. Oh. Can you see?
Came in 2 or 3 times.
You see?
Talk very much, you know. Come in, do their business, and then go on their way.
What?
You ever had any trouble with androids before?
No way.
Human to access android.
Once, we lost a moment.
No?
3 months back, same model.
Excuse me, Lieutenant. Can you come here a second?
Found something?
Maybe.
Oh god, he's the best. He's the best. I love the way he talks. It's so good. Get to work, Hank. Use your
Can you
fucking
let this Tracy-
sweet human
For
handprint.
fuck's sake, Connor, we got better things to do.
Please, Lieutenant.
Why is he so stupid? Why would Hank think that he was asking for another reason? He's like, for fuck's sake, we got shit to do. I'm like, yeah, no, you're right. I just wanted to fuck that android. Like, of course I want you to do it for a reason, you dummy. $29.99 for 30 minutes. That's a good deal.
This is not gonna look good on my
It's
expenses.
$1 a minute. That's actually not bad.
Huh. That's like regular fucking porn.
Delighted to meet you.
Well, she's
Follow
all
me.
glittered up.
I'll take you to your room.
Okay, now what?
I'm gonna ask her some
It,
fucking
Dodd Hank's been in like a ton of shit though.
Yeah.
Obviously Green Mile, and he was the main villain in one of the Highlanders.
Cemetery? Wasn't he Pet Cemetery, right?
Yeah, that too.
Oh shit. What am I doing here? fuck?
Mr. Anderson.
Here, Tracy headed towards the entrance. Is that the dead guy? Alright, so now I gotta... Oh, wow, he's gonna have to spend a lot of money if I'm gonna have to go look for another person that's closer to the door.
Yeah.
That's funny.
The best is the weirdos renting her.
Yeah.
Like that guy just looking her up and down.
Yeah, he's like, what's up? Alright, go back to your fucking cage, woman.
It saw something.
Saw what?
The deviant leave the room. A blue-haired Tracy. Club policy is to wipe the android's memory every 2 hours. We only have a few minutes if we want to find another
Oh,
witness.
fuck you. Come on with this shit.
Hey, what am I supposed to do with this one?
Tell you changed. Let's try this one.
This better be...
Fuck. Fuck you!
You didn't see anything. I made a mistake somewhere.
You about to have Hank drop a grip.
Yeah. He is spending some money. There she is. Turned back into the club. Alright, that's why. Fuck. Why do you gotta zoom in on his...
It saw the blue-haired Tracy. I know which way it went.
Go for it. There are androids.
They totally did.
How are you gonna tell which one saw the Tracy with blue hair?
I know which...
Fuck! Oh, he is spending money.
I lost its track again.
Spent all this money and I'm still not having time to check them all.
Lieutenant, if you have a...
Where is she? What the fuck? I don't... Oh, I don't get this anymore. She went back this way and now none of them are seeing her?
I made a mistake somewhere.
Can I
This
go
has gotta
in
be
here?
the most expensive investigation of my career.
Oh, I can. I didn't realize I could do that. Fuck. Well, that sucks. I'm so confused. Alright, I lost. I forgot that. I don't know how to play this game.
I mean, you do know how. You're just...
You walk faster, you idiot? Dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? Oh, fuck this. Alright, whatever. Oh well. I've stopped caring now, because this is not making any sense. Looking at all the people that should have seen her, because they're all in the path of where... Alright, there she is. Alright, on we go. Turned into the red room. I was already in there! They wouldn't let me... Oh. Oh, so I had to find out that she went in here first to know to be able to talk to these people. Alright. It's gotta be her. Stop looking down at your dick, dude. What's wrong with these people? This android is fucking weird.
No. I lost its track again.
Hank, get to work, Hank, get to work. Turn to the blue. Oh my god, what is this? A fucking color exercise? Is that the blue room? I'm guessing, yeah. Alright, that's the blue room. Oh, enough. Hank, get to work! Come on, Hank! Wait, what? What? Why are you just staring at this lady? What's happening? Oh, God.
Nothing. Blue-haired Tracy didn't come this way.
It said she went to the blue room. This is the blue room, right? I'm confused. I'm so confused! Okay.
You didn't see anything. I made a mistake somewhere.
This has got to be the most expensive investigation of my career.
Is that, I guess that's not the blue room and I can't tell anymore. I ran out of shit, dude. I fucked up. This looks like a blue room to me, but... I can't go. You're good.
It's too late.
Good.
The android's memory have been reset. If one of them saw the Tracy, we'll never know.
I love that we couldn't just say to them, hey, guess what? We're the
my
cops.
fault.
Don't reset their fucking
Should have been
brains.
faster.
For a second there, I thought you were gonna make yourself useful. Let's get out of here.
Good.
This place gives me the creeps.
That was the single most annoying fucking mission in this entire game. By far.
Damn, Hank likes you less now.
Yeah, because I fucking couldn't figure that part out. All right, well, that was that one.
Wow. Damn.
Mission failed.
So unlike the other one where you got a lot farther than me and had that whole amazing car chase,
Yeah.
you missed out
Yeah, I missed out on a ton on this one.
on this one. This one was actually one of my more favorite ones, but
Oh,
not
really?
the way you played it.
Oh, I hated that one. I absolutely hated that.
I had 67% completed and you got 37.
37, yeah.
So-
So that, I don't understand. So I guess maybe you can explain to me now, like, was that not the blue room, the room that I was standing in that was all blue on the walls?
Yeah. But just because somebody walks into that room doesn't mean everybody from every angle saw her.
Oh, no,
So
I
what
got
you
that,
were
but,
doing is you
he
were
was
just
straight up like, he was just like, oh, I must have lost track of her. So I was like, oh, did I go in the wrong room? Because the other times
No,
he was
you
like,
just
she
went to
didn't-
the wrong person. In
Oh,
the
see,
wrong,
the other
like you went
times
to
he
the
was
wrong
just saying-
side.
Okay. The other times he was just saying stuff like, oh, she didn't see him, or he didn't see her. And then this one time he was like, I guess I lost track of her. So I was like, all right, I
Yeah,
guess
because
she
she
went to
didn't
another
walk
room.
over that way in the room.
All right.
She
I guess
hung
then
like
I
a
just
right. And
misunderstood that part.
I think actually you were that blue room was the last one. If I remember correctly, it was the last room because then the next one of them saw her go into one of those service rooms,
Right.
the employee rooms, and that's where you could have found her, I think.
Nice.
Or like so then it turns into a chase, and then some other really cool shit happens that I don't know now if I want to spoil
No,
in
don't.
case.
Yeah, don't in case it turns out to be something different for later.
I mean, I definitely won't like. I guess we can get to it, and I can ask you if you want me to describe what happened in mine when we get there. But
Yeah.
because mine had a whole bunch of fun shit that happened toward the end. But yeah, yours is like this playthrough. I get, and I actually kind of like seeing you fail at this because it shows me that. Like, you legitimately could, I mean, I already kind of knew it because the first time around I fucked, as you know, I've already fucked some shit up that cut one of my missions short and made it like like a cool mission, but yours was much cooler because of the way, you actually figured shit out better than I did. So this time around, like seeing you kind of fail and then this turn into like an underwhelming mission and you walk out of there like, oh, this was a whack mission. And when I played it, I was like, this was an amazing mission.
Right.
Shows how like it really is not just an illusion of choice or an illusion of like failure, the possibility of failure. Like it's legitimate. Like you fucked up and you cost yourself like, enjoying one of the better episodes.
Right. Awesome. Well, that makes this fun. I fucked up, so I didn't get to play the best one.
I mean, no, it's not the best one. It's not the best one, but it was just like a really good one.
Right.
That that I was looking forward, to like, well, I was looking forward to seeing again or seeing what choices you made when you got to the good part, but you fucked up the puzzle part of it, and you didn't get the reward of seeing the rest of it, which has value for me in just seeing that, oh shit, I actually got to a cool part that I wasn't guaranteed due to me figuring some shit out that you didn't. And you're obviously a smart guy and like good at video games, so like the fact that you didn't, and I, kind of puts a little more value on my accomplishment.
Right. So I mean, I guess I've
sense.
also have said that my least favorite part of the game in general so far has been most of the puzzly puzzles, not just the like figuring out a thing, because there's been some cool stuff of like, figuring out a crime scene or something like that. That has been fun, but the like puzzle stuff has already been like, I mean, I remember when we went back to the one where you had to like find the pictures on the wall to like figure out the message, and like even then I had said like, okay, it is what it is, I get it, like it's not it didn't, to me it doesn't feel like that's their strong suit. It's like they're trying to fit in like adventure game puzzles into into the game, and so it had already been a thing that I guess I had said.
You said you enjoyed it, but if it was one more, you would have been like, all right, that's enough of that.
No, because remember, straight up in the beginning, I was like, this, I don't like you're just all of a sudden you're not giving me enough information, and then you're just saying like, now go solve this thing. And remember, in the beginning, I like didn't even understand that it was a puzzle. Like I was just like, oh, okay, this is just happening, and you didn't really explain it, so I didn't like it at all. And then eventually, I was able to solve them, but I was just like, this is my least favorite part, because I like the other parts where it's either story-based shit happening, or mechanic stuff that's happening, like mechanics based within the game. Like the puzzles are the things that feel the most out of place, because they feel much more like somebody played like Secret of Monkey Island, and they're trying to fit like fucking puzzles into their into their story game. And I just didn't like them as much, right? And so this one was far and away the dumbest one to me, just because I was like, okay, I mean, so I'm looking in the room where it's an open fucking room, and the guy right next to her sees her,
there was
and
some
he
shit in the
doesn't.
middle.
There was
things in the middle that
yes,
would have
I get it,
obstructed
but the point is, it was very, like, it got to the point where obviously you saw, I was just like, okay, like, I don't understand why she didn't see and this guy did, so I'm just going to have to search everyone. And then he made a point where he's like, we're not going to be able to look at everyone. And that's the moment where I was like, oh, I just don't care about this mission anymore then, because, like, you're not showing enough information why one person would see and the next person wouldn't. And so now it just literally got down to the point where I'm like, I guess you just have, because you could also tell, I mean, you probably noticed it too, like the clock was not a real clock, like it wasn't running down, it was like, it would be like 2.5 minutes, and then like next time I looked at it, even though it was like 35 seconds later, it would say like 2 minutes and 25 seconds, but then it would say like 1 minute and 10 seconds, because they were just like, oh shit, you checked enough people where now enough time has run out. And so once I realized that, I was like, oh, it's like, there's nothing I can really do other than just walk up to everyone that it says that I can scan and try to scan them, and you're just going to tell me how much time is left, and that's fine. It is what it is. I don't like.
When I solved it, I went through like, hey, she went into this room. I went in there, and I went to one side of the room, and I checked the person that was there. And if they didn't see her, then I went to the other. Then I thought, all right, she didn't walk this way in the room. She walked the other way in the room, and I went to the other person there, and they would usually be able to point me in the right direction. That's how I solved it. So yeah. I don't know. To me, I enjoyed it. But I get it. I get why it didn't appeal to you. It's not going to appeal to everybody.
I don't think it was like I don't think it was terrible. I just think it was the worst puzzle in a game where the puzzles have already been the part where I'm like, all right, let's get to the story. Like, don't, or even like let's, like the first part where it's like, although that was it was just like search the 3 things, right? Like, I like the ones where it's like search the 3 things and then use that to figure out like, oh, this weapon was used, scan that weapon, and then figure out from there like what happened. Like, those things are cool, but like when they every once in a while introduce these, like so this case, I guess the reason why this one was more annoying was because they introduced puzzling, which is already to me not as much fun, because I feel like it's not his strong suit. It's like he's better when he's trying to just have like story beats happening, or it's crazy action shit, like a fucking chase scene or whatever, like that kind of stuff. So it's already I think like the weakest part. But then you add on top of that, then they add in a weird, like in my head, like I even made fun of it immediately. I was like, this weird dumb timer, because like cops wouldn't just be like, hey, shut off the fucking machine that deletes the like, because like if you walked into a convenience store and said, hey, can we see your fucking, like, can we see your videotapes that you took last night during this murder? It's one thing if they said to you, oh shit, we delete them at the end of every night, they're already deleted. You'd be like, okay, that happens. But if they're like, we delete them every hour, you have 10 seconds left, the cops would be like, oh, motherfucker, just don't delete them and give me the fucking recording. And they wouldn't be like, time's a clicking. I was like, what? Just say stop doing it and give me the fucking thing. So you created this like false narrative on why he would have to race around and check anyway, which already seemed kind of wacky and hokey.
I mean, if you wanted to write in, like there aren't that many parts of this video game, I think, that we would agree so far, where you have to like, where it's like hokey, like where it doesn't make sense, and that's one of the ones where you're like, well, why wouldn't they just say stop it? So I guess if you want to make the excuse for him or write it in for him, you would think like, hey, maybe the wiping of the androids, like he said, is a widespread company policy thing that comes from like headquarters or whatever, and they do it that way. So they just wouldn't have enough time. And so he's like, instead of trying to get this manager to wipe the memory, to stop the wipe of the memories, which he may probably not be able to do.
Yes. I get that it could just be set like by the system. I understand that. Like, I'm just saying they don't even take the time to explain any of the stuff. It's just like, it's one of those things, you know, in like in movies when there's that moment they walk into a person that's been like, that was like shot before they got there, right? And the person's like, ugh, and they wake up and just say like, you are the chosen one. And then they die, and it's like, wait, that dude just hung on just long enough for you to walk up and then to share that one, like, half of an important piece of information and then die? I was like, it's just bad storytelling in general, right? When you do that. So it's like, this whole thing is that moment. They walk up. The guy died an hour ago. They got there when there's only 2 minutes left before this thing gets wiped. It's like, okay, I mean, I guess that's fine. So when you add all these like weird kind of goofy story beats in, and then it's already a part that I don't necessarily enjoy, and then on top of that, like, and I did say part of that was probably just my misinterpretation, but like every other moment when he was just like, oh no, he, like, she didn't go this way, or he actually said like, oh, she didn't see him, or he didn't see him, we have to check another one. And then that last one when he was like, I guess I lost track of her, I was like, fuck, okay, I guess she went into another room and I just misunderstood something, and like, am I right now learning live on like this podcast that I'm colorblind? Like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. And so then at that point I was like, all that, and then when I saw the timer was like a fake timer where it wasn't really counting down real time, it was just kind of like changing at its own, you know, pace, saying like, you've checked 6 people, so now you only have a minute left. You've checked 7 people, now you have a minute and a half, like you have 30 seconds left or whatever. So like, once all of those things kind of compounded, I was just like, oh, whatever, okay, yeah, fine. Like, either I'm gonna figure it out or I'm not. But like, I'm not gonna. It is what it is. But like, it's. I just don't. You know, there's nothing I can really do, because I guess I either am missing something here, or this is bad, or a combination of both. I guess that's more just what I was saying. It's just like, it just happened to be a like perfect storm of things for me to be like, I already start like, because the moment that started happening, I was immediately like, why this is dumb. And then when it like, I started failing at it, I was like, oh, now this is really dumb. And then, you know, whatever. So it's fine. It's just, it's a bummer too that I missed.
And for me, like, that stuff didn't bother me that much, because you know, I got to see the ending. And
yes, of course.
But like, to me, the things I did enjoy were, I really liked the concept of like, they walked in, they're like, fuck, we missed whatever happened here, and he's like, you know, there's just enough juice in this thing left that I'm not gonna be able to like resuscitate her, but I can like temporarily resuscitate her, just so she
that
can
was awesome.
I have this short moment to question her, you know. And then I like that, you know, instead of just like, let me track where her blood went, or let me track which has been the previous investigations when you're trying to find shit, it's been like, hey, find the footprints, or find, you know, track these clues in this direction. And like, this one, I just thought it was different. It was cool. It was like, yo, you know, like, instead of just like track the video camera, it was like, hey, rent these androids and try to track where she went by what the androids observed, which I thought it was a cool concept. Even if you didn't like the execution, I thought the concept, the idea of doing that was pretty awesome.
Conceptually, I think it could have been done great. Like, I do think actually the idea of sight jacking other androids and seeing what they saw, I think could be done well. I guess it was more just like the way that one was done was like, you just added a bunch of things to create this like false sense of tension, and then didn't give enough information to explain why one guy wouldn't see, like, other than the fact that I'm like, oh, I guess this dude just keeps looking down at his own penis, so that's why he didn't see her. But otherwise, like, for every other reason, he should have seen her, because she's walking right in front of him, but he's just looking down at his own dick, so like, he just missed her. And I was like, all right, well, then I guess all of this is just arbitrary, because I could look at the girl that he's right in front of.
I mean,
no, of course.
Wouldn't it be shitty if like they were always looking at just the right moment?
No, you know of course, so, of course. But the problem with that is, if it comes down to, you're going to give me a timer, and then when I look at somebody, I'm like, no, I know based on what you just showed me, because I saw the angle that she was walking, and I walked to the robot that is standing literally right next to her in the view of the robot that I'm seeing her from, and that robot doesn't see her because that robot just happened to be looking the other direction. I'm like, well, then, what are the fucking rules of this then? Because if any given robot can be standing next to her but not look at her, then that's fine. That's okay because you're right. That
So
is
it bothers
possible.
you that it wasn't necessarily fair or whatever.
Or
But,
just
you know,
didn't. Yeah, it's like they didn't play by their
comes
own
down to luck.
rules.
It's like, right, and just what I would say to that, it's like it's just some of this stuff is luck, and some of it is really luck. Like you can't. It's not necessarily like, oh, Craig, you're a bad investigator. It's just like you just.
Oh, no, I know. I
know.
get that. I'm not worried so much about that. Like that part doesn't bother me because I knew pretty quickly. I was like, oh, I hate this, so I'm going to be bad at it. It's fine. But like, I think it was more that I'm just like. Those are the things that get back to the like when in general in games and specifically in this game with like David Cage, the shit that you want to like kind of cast on him is it's like when he overshoots every once in a while. It's like that was like a moment where it's like you dropped the ball, like you didn't tell enough of the story to make any of the things that are happening right now make sense. You were just like, oh shit, we have a timer, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, that's fine, I guess. Like that's just like that's the equivalent of saying like. The fucking, the didgeridoo is attacking, and you're like, what's that thing? Don't worry about it. Look over there, and you're like, okay, I get. Like, just say, hey, guess what? We're not gonna fucking tell you what's happening right now. You're just gonna do it because I don't know, fucking video games. Like they literally could have said, he could have said like, we have 2 minutes to find it because I don't know, fucking video games, and I would have been like, all right, that's about the same answer you just gave me because like none of the rest of this makes sense, and then the things that you're making me do don't make sense within the fact that there's a timer because at that point I guess I should just check everybody because anyone who could be looking right at her still isn't looking at her, so there's no way for me to really know. It is more just
randomness, but you could also hedge your bets, and it's like
right, and maybe you just hedged better than I did, which is fine. It doesn't really matter. We don't have to dwell on it too much. It was more just that that was the reason why I didn't like it, more because I thought it just seemed totally random and in a game that is placed so much more on like you making decisions based on things that you've learned, and then the things that you've learned actually inform your next decision. When you all of a sudden decide to put so much on a weird like moment of randomness just for the sake of randomness, I was like, I don't get it, but it's fine. It is fine. It makes sense. It is, or not that it makes sense. It is what it is. Let's go through the chart, right?
Yeah.
Right,
so we any overarching issues necessarily that we want to describe. We've already kind of described, or rather tackled, like androids as a possibility of like replacing prostitutes or even significant others. We've talked about that in earlier issues or earlier episodes. So we just go through this and kind of like pick up stuff as it comes. Who would have known
this would have been right after we had like a 2-hour conversation about it? That it would have been the entire the storyline of an entire episode is all about fucking going to a android sex club, but that's pretty cool.
I did know, but I figured, we were looking at the article, we might as well discuss it back then.
Well, yeah, I should have said I didn't know. Of course, you played it. And it's just funny. It's funny that we talked about it for 2 hours, and then 2 episodes later is an entire episode about like, hey, check it out, come fuck these androids. But all right, let's see. So 37% completed the Eden Club. Public opinion is skeptical. Software instability. He is still not yet unstable. Hank is still warm, but he went down a little bit at the end when he was like, you fucking idiot. And then Amanda is still trusting me, even though we didn't interact with her at all. For anyone who's watching this, Amanda is who I think is like the kind of hive mind of the androids, kind of like a digital kind of boss that's giving us our roles and responsibilities and what we should be doing. I don't know if that's true or not.
But at the very least, she works for the company.
She definitely works for the company, yes. And she interacts with the androids on some weird digital-looking plane. All right, so let's go back. So investigate Eden Club. Follow Hank. This is going to be funny because everything I get is going to be the guaranteed ones, and then any of the ones that are decisions, they're going to be like, failed. Follow Hank on the crime scene. Listen to the briefing. All right, so search for clues. So, so the one thing I did do is what 99% of other people did is investigate the victim and investigate Android. I assume you did both of those as well. You did not fall into the 1% of people that were like, fuck this room, I'm going to go back out there and talk to these sexy-ass androids.
Yeah.
All right. So I repaired the android and I talked to the android. So I used a calm approach, 43%. What did you do? Same?
Aggressive approach, 56.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right.
So the extra 1% is probably just a split in points.
Yes.
Or whatever.
And I did decide that was like an actual decision to go calm just because I was like, I only have a minute and I don't want to freak out and bug the fuck out or whatever. So like maybe to just be like, yo, it's okay, but we just need some information. And I don't know, did I get any more or less information than you did? Or did it kind of end
I
in the
don't
same
think so.
place as far as you remember? Okay.
Yeah, it's the same place. Now let me ask you something.
Yep.
Do you feel like this is kind of, is part of you glad you didn't find this other android? I mean, what you learned at the crime scene is that this dude got fucking, he wanted 2 girls. They get in there and the motherfucker starts like fucking getting violent with them, you know, to the point where he like kills one of them.
Right.
And then he ends up dead.
Right.
So it looks like it was self-defense. So,
Right.
you know, as we were like when I failed to find Kara, and the little one, Alice, when I was Connor and that other one, and I missed that cool ass highway chase. Like at the time, I was not so broke up about it because I was like, you know what, I don't really want to find them. You know, I'm gonna try, but if I don't, I'm not broke up about it. I'm glad they escaped. You know, so on some level, are you glad this woman escaped or this android escaped?
Yeah, no, you're right. Now, actually, I guess I didn't really think about it that way. Just specifically because your situation when it happened involved a character that like we already know and care about, whereas like this one just is like some random, you know, blue-haired Tracy. I don't know who the fuck she is. So like,
Right.
I'm way more looking at it from like Connor's relationship with Hank and the fact that Hank is disappointed in me. I'm like, oh, Dad, I'm sorry. Like that bums me out more than the fact that I let her go. But you are right. Like in my kind of over, you know, if I look at like 50,000 foot view of this whole thing, probably I would be, you know, more. I'm kind of more glad because we've also assumed, like we've also acknowledged Connor does not suffer shit from any motherfucking android. If he finds them, he's like, he turns them in a fucking heartbeat. So he would have been like, yo, the bitch is over here. So like, yeah, it's probably okay from the story standpoint that she got away.
I'm gonna make
even
you
if
feel a
Hank's
little
pissed
better
off.
about it
Yeah.
by spoiling that in mine, you know, I had an extended chase scene as well, and I had to make a really tough decision
Uh-oh.
and then decide what I thought Connor would do versus what I wanted to happen, and it was kind of heart-wrenching.
So you caught her and you wanted to let her go, but you turned her in.
I mean, let's just keep going, and when we
Yeah.
get to that point, you can ask me, and then we can figure out if I should say
Okay.
kind of what happened in mine.
Okay.
So anyway, so you leave the crime scene, and then what happens?
Find an android eyewitness, 99%, and so somebody could have, I guess, never found one. So then I asked Hank for help, and then androids' memories are reset, and so that's where I failed. Oh wow! It just ended real fast for me.
Yeah, that was it. Wow.
So that's
okay, so
it. So you got all
find
of
an android
this.
witness. I don't know what was the other thing to that because I didn't.
No, that is you don't even find an android witness and you fail immediately.
Okay, so that's what. All right, so I found the android witness. I asked Hank to help, and then where you said androids primaries are reset, instead I was on top of that where it said pursue deviant, and I got 89%. So 89% of the people actually managed to.
Yep,
see,
only 10% of people failed.
So that can't make you feel that good.
I mean, I don't care that much, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. It's fine.
All right, so
it felt like when it was
once you-
happening, it felt like, I mean, I could realize when it was happening that I was stupid. Like I knew I was fucking something up, but it was more that I like it was pretty quickly into it. I was like, I just don't care. So I kind of was just like, once I realized I was either missing something or I was overthinking it, I started just being like, I'm just going to walk up to every single one and I'll either find it or I won't. So I can get, I understand why.
You were overthinking it and you got frustrated. And
right. I can understand why 90% or 89% of people beat it because they were like, oh, just walk to this side of the room. And I was like, fuck, but why didn't that one see? And like, I got mad. And whereas like other people were like,
I'm going to hold on a second, game. I'm going to go tweet David Cage right now and tell him what a fucking idiot he is. And then meanwhile, like the time keeps running and then you're like, I don't understand.
Exactly. So I'm okay with it. It is what it is.
So you got all right, so you got Android's memories are reset, and mine was the Pursue Deviant.
Yep.
And then, so Deviant escapes to a warehouse. All right, and I entered a warehouse searching for the Deviant, so it's still 89%.
Okay.
And then
you get this huge fucking brick of options.
Yeah, so I analyzed some blue blood. There were like several androids in there, in that room. So this is where it gets creepy. Like you walk into a room in the warehouse, there's a bunch of these fucking sex androids standing there, and you don't know. Like, so this thing is fucking hiding amongst, like, kind of like or like shut down androids or whatever that like are new and are waiting to be activated. And you like search around, and then I found her. Eventually, 85% of people did that, and then there were 2 of them this time. So she linked up with another deviant who was in that room as well, which is another stripper or another like escort deviant or prostitute deviant, and they both attacked me.
Sexy.
I won the fight. 83% people did.
Nice.
And then it
Is
came
this where
down
the
to
split
where
is?
like, yeah, they were about to get away on me. Do you want to know what happens? What happened in
Okay,
mine?
well let me ask you this. Do you think it is worthwhile because you know what happens next. Do you think it's worthwhile not telling me what your options were now, waiting to see if it is important later, and then telling me at a later point and say, hey, okay, so this happens now. Well, 3 episodes back, what I ended up doing was X, Y, Z, and so this never even happened to me? Or do you think that won't even matter? So you could just tell me now? Because that's the only thing is like I wouldn't want you to spoil something that like might come up in a different way for me, and then you can say, oh, that shit's crazy that this happened to you because 3 episodes ago I did this other thing that made none of this even possible or whatever. But if you don't think that'll be a thing, then you can just tell me.
Because I don't see that, because in mine, my actions resulted in probably the same result for you and me.
Okay. All right. Well, then just tell me if you think it's going to be the same outcome anyway.
These two androids attacked me in the warehouse, and then took off. And it was obvious that these 2 female androids were like actually in love, and they were trying to save each other. So it's like another one from in the club basically figured out that her lover got caught up in some shit where some dude was like beating on her and the other girl in the room. The other girl ended up dead, and this one takes off, tells her lover like, I'm in a lot of trouble, like I just murdered this dude, or I just killed this dude because he tried to kill us. And then like the other android who was just working her regular shift was like, let's go, baby, and try to get the fuck out of there. And here comes fucking mean ass Connor, this fucking, I will find you, right? Gets into the fucking warehouse, and then like goes to ruin their fucking day. Yeah, goes to ruin their fucking day. And so these 2 chicks, after he ends up beating them both up.
Oh, what a dick!
Barely. They both attack him, but like he fucking beats him up.
They did some 2 like the 2 Matrix chick like type fights.
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah,
okay, that's cool.
Yeah, it was a cool fight. Yeah, and then he wins I won the fight, but there was a point where they were like about to get away, even though I won the fight. And then I had a choice. I could either let him go or I could shoot him, and I was like, nope, Connor's not gonna let him go. So 38% versus 44%. I shot the deviant versus
wow.
Deviant. Yeah, and then so when I shot the one, the other one, instead of just continuing to run, came back, or I don't know how she got, I don't remember the specifics, but basically she saw that her lover was dead, right, and like breaks down crying, like grabs Connor's gun and kills herself too. So both of them were dead. So my end result is 38% deviants died, and the only thing Connor learns from that is like, fuck, how powerful is, like what the, like, how powerful is that this deviant, like, now it wasn't like, not only did she break her programming, but she actually made an emotional choice of like, my lover's dead.
I'd rather be dead. Yeah, I'd rather be dead.
And just shot herself. Yeah. So
all right, well, now knowing all that, I'm way more happy that I failed that mission.
I felt like shit 10%. When it was done, but it was an amazing storytelling. Yeah. So you got to save yourself, because that's why I was looking forward to seeing how you handle the dilemma. I was like, part of me was like, I wonder if he's going to actually pull the trigger on this deviant.
Right.
Yeah, because I know it would really bother you to do it, and it was really heart wrenching, kind of, for me to like go through. I almost wanted to take my choices back.
Yeah. I'm gonna replay this mission.
And then I ended up learning
offline.
Nothing.
I'm gonna replay this mission offline.
I ended up like learning nothing.
So I can let them get away and let them live their beautiful life together, like The Notebook. They'll just be
as they run off. I yell in a heavy Cuban accent, "Lesbian."
Yeah, so I feel pretty good about my 10% now, failing that mission.
Yeah.
Because at least I'm not a fucking animal that murdered two women in love. You fucking psychopath.
Connor's an asshole, man.
Connor really is a prick.
Connor does
You
whatever
tried to
Connor
stop
wants to
him.
do.
You were like, don't press that button. What you pressing that button for? Don't press R2. Frick!
No.
Frick! Damn you, Connor! Like, dude, it's a video game. You totally just pressed that button. You pressed the X that said murder the fucking deviant.
So like you said, we could have probably spent some more time on this episode just talking about the general, like, androids as substitutes for, lovers, or, but we've done that in the in the prior one. So I kind of have nothing else on this, unless you want to discuss just even this didn't happen in your storyline of the two, like as far as these two got away. You don't, and for all you know, only one got away.
Right.
The third android got away.
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't even know about the other one. I guess, that is it's a totally interesting story that I feel like is kind of cheating a little bit if I talk too much about it, because not having seen it played out, like I only heard your version of it. So it's more interesting to hear you talk about your feelings about it than for me to project how I would feel had I played it out, right? So I don't really know. So I think it's probably better to just speak to my story, and I feel okay speaking to my story as a what's the word I'm looking for? Like as an alternative to yours, right? Like having known yours to be able to say, hey, actually that makes mine not feel so terrible because I feel okay that I didn't have to deal with that. But to speak to the specifics of how I would make that decision or whatever is like fake, right? Because I don't know until I'm in it, like what I would have done and how I would have handled it. So it's kind of cool to just hear you speak specifically to yours. I think the only other thing that's semi-interesting, you did mention we have talked about the fucking androids conversation already, right? That part we did a pretty deep dive into our thoughts on that. Although a much bigger part of that discussion was specifically more like focused on the idea of involving a sex android into a relationship, right? Like saying, hey, you and your significant other decide that, just like getting a fucking sex toy or a vibrator or a sex swing or something like that, like would you also get a sex android that you would, you guys collectively or individually or whatever would have sex with, right? So we talked about that at length, and I don't think that necessarily needs to be even touched on at all right now. But I think we didn't
touched on.
Yeah, but we didn't get too deep into or dwell too much on the idea of just the straight up, like the replacement of the prostitute, like the prostitute industry or whatever, with the idea of like this type of thing, right? Going into a sex club filled with androids. And I guess that is something that we could mention real quick. Again, we don't have to get too deep into it because we don't need another 2-hour conversation about it. But we could just real quick touch on the idea of specifically separate from relationships and whether it's cool or not to introduce any of that, because that adds its own twist to it. But just the idea of a totally willing and interested and able, solo person who is not, and again, we're not talking about somebody who's possibly or may not be cheating on a significant other. Fuck that. Like just a solo practitioner who is just looking to bang and would like to have sex with an android. What would you say? Do you have any thoughts on that or anything different than what we talked about?
It was like, I'd like to have sex now. Would you like to have sex now? Let us have sex now.
Let us have sex now. That literally sounds like an android asking for sex. That clip is so good.
But so all right. Here's the thing. For purposes of this discussion, if we're going to replace the human prostitute with the android prostitute, right, then we have to take out the deviancy in it, the free will of the androids. Once they are on, like they're feeling beings that we consider to be life, legitimate life and have just as many rights as humans do, then this discussion kind of becomes moot because you're substituting one for the other or whatever, right?
Right. You either have to accept it fully and say we know that they are making a decision and they have to be able to make the decision just like a human being does, or we have to say fully that they are not deviant and that they are literally just programmed to do so, right? So
because if androids have feelings and they're really life, then at that point this is human trafficking, or like or trafficking of a life.
Well, no. I mean, again, if it depends. Again, if they are doing it willingly or not, right? Because there are plenty of people that do that engage in prostitution because they're like, hey, why not? Like, I can make really good money doing it, and I'm okay with it, and I wasn't forced into it, and I'm okay. Like, I would say.
Well, that's all. But what I'm saying is, like, these androids, right? Like stocking the club, which like Apple Store.
Right. These androids are clearly not. Yes, these androids are clearly not. They're not like making the choices as if they were a fucking a human being saying, hey, this is a pretty good life for me. Like, I'm making some money, right?
And if they actually have free will, right, then to me there's no. I mean, then what's the difference between them and humans? And it's the same thing, right?
Well, I guess then the discussion would be more. The discussion would be more on that side. Would be more just your thoughts about the concept of
sex with or whatever.
Electric clubs where sex with an android that is a willing participant. You could have that conversation as well. But
that's the same as sex with a human who's a willing participant.
Well, no, I don't think everyone would think that. I think some people would say, "Oh, that's disgusting because it's a robot." Regardless, even though it's willing, the fact that you as a human are willing to have sex with an android, I'm sure there's plenty of people that'd be like, "That's like, that." I mean, well, no, because they're not willing. I was going to say it's like sex with an animal, but they're not willing. But I mean, people would be like, "That's gross that you're having sex with a non-human."
Okay, I mean, I mean, whatever.
I would say fuck those people because that's to each his own. If that's what you're into, that's like saying ew, gross because you're into somebody of the same gender as you. It's like that doesn't have to be a thing you like or that you're into, but it definitely shouldn't be something that you should like cast aspersions on somebody else who's like that's what they're into. You seem like you're just being a closed-minded fuck. So that part to me, I'm okay with saying.
The whole thing where like if like one of my friends ends up like fucking a blow up doll or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You might crack a couple of jokes at the motherfucker, you know what I mean? Because you're like, oh shit, you can't fucking land a real woman or whatever. But that's because the blow up doll is far inferior to a real woman, right? And from what I can gather in this game, the androids that they're making are like superhuman lifelike and feel just like humans and are like.
I mean, they describe it as better.
Giving you. Yeah, like voices, like they're not just like an inanimate object.
Right.
They're like legitimately something that's giving you an experience back, whether or not they actually are alive or programmed, like whatever it is. But I would say, if we're talking about androids that are not woke, for instance, like we're really just talking about like beings that are programmed to be lifelike, but they're not actually alive. And we accept that assumption, that premise, then I would say, yeah, that makes a lot in terms of like safeness, in terms of, because they're not going to carry diseases as easily. And I assume that the procedures to clean them and, sterilize them are probably a lot easier, and more surefire rather, right? So that's just better for public health.
Yep.
And then also to me, one of my biggest problems with establishments like these, for instance, like my biggest problem with strippers is not that because of what their profession is, they're terrible people. My problem is that the industry is so filled with terrible people and people that are desperate and people that have had like shitty lives, and that there are a lot of like people with like antisocial personality disorders and fucking straight up sociopaths in that profession. If you've ever like, I don't know, I've known a lot of strippers in my life. Like I lived in Miami for a while. I knew a lot of strippers, and like as people, and I was like, these are not like, they've picked up some really fucking bad habits because they feel like if I don't take advantage of other people, people are going to take advantage of me. And that's my problem with the industry is that, number one, even if you go in as a sweet person, you're going to be surrounded by all these fucking scumbags trying to take advantage of you to the point where you're quickly going to become a scumbag just to survive. And that's one, right? Secondly, a lot of the things that I worry about on a constant basis. And then, like, you know, I've had like friends who have traveled to places like the Dominican Republic or you know, like other places where they say, oh, the US dollar goes really far, and man, we had such a good time at this, you know, like the place to describe, or like, yeah, like there would be strip clubs, except like who the fuck's gonna bother with strip clubs when you could just go all the way, right? Like fucking, for instance, like in Peru, like, you know, going to a strip club is stupid. Like, everybody's like, why would you ever do that? Go to a fucking massage parlor and fuck. You know what I mean? Or we have straight up whorehouses. Like, why would you go somewhere where some woman's gonna tease you, pull all your money out, and you might not even fuck her, right? And they have like rules against it. Whereas you could just go straight up and place and pay some money and fuck, right? So, but my biggest concern with these best places.
Let me just throw one thing I was just going to say is there is the idea of people that are not willing to cross the line into getting a prostitute, but do like the idea of the tease of a strip club, right? I mean, that's literally what strip clubs base their entire business on, is like, yeah, I'm sure you could just find somebody that you could pay to have sex with, but you just want to go to a place where you can watch like a girl dance on the bar and then throw her some money, maybe get like a lap dance or whatever, and then go home and know that you didn't like do the fucking deed. You didn't go that far to like pay somebody for sex or whatever. Like, so there is some. I was gonna say value, but I wasn't. I don't know if values. I don't know if values the term.
It's a
but
bad
like,
plan, right?
For example, there's a bunch of times where like guys go on their like bachelor parties to strip clubs, not because they're going to bang, but because they're like, yeah, it's just like we're gonna see a bunch of like boobs and whatever, and then like we'll go get drunk and then we'll go out to a bar afterwards. It's like almost everyone there is signing a social contract that nobody except for your really fucking scummy like, you know, cousin or friend that's like, I'm gonna try to take one of these girls into the champagne room and fuck, but like everyone else is there literally just to be like, we're gonna get some wings, we're gonna buy a bunch of beers, we're gonna throw a couple dollars in a girl's G-string, and then we're literally just gonna call it a day. And that is our intention. So
those nights are fun too. Those nights are definitely fun.
Right. So I'm saying. So I was only saying that as like when you make the statement of like, why would you even bother going there because you can go to this other thing? I'm like, yeah, no, that is some people's intention, but some people are like, that is not what I was not trying to pay a woman to have sex with her. I literally just wanted to go hang out with a couple of my friends, or maybe I'm sad and I wanted to hang out by myself, but I just wanted to hang out and like see some naked, you know, boobs that weren't like porn on the internet, and then call it a day and be done with it, because the other thing is like maybe a bridge too far for me. And that was the only reason why I brought it up. And like,
yeah.
But you're right. But go ahead, finish what you were saying. I didn't want to cut you off and say you were wrong.
So
I just want to add that.
My bigger concern with these people that are like you know, every time that you get into one of these areas where like you're like, oh fuck, this was amazing, we had a great time, you know, these chicks do anything you want, and it didn't cost that much and shit like that, and then that makes me question, you know, like, is this part of human trafficking? Like, is this like, there's a reason why they're able to provide this service to you, to get this girl to do this for you at such a low price, and you went to some spot that has her, and she's beautiful, and she's young, and then you're like, how did this bitch get here? Why is this, like, this woman is,
what led to her
could
getting
be
to
like
this
a
point?
high-paid, yeah, she could be a high-paid hooker within like a classy escort service or something, but why is she here? Like, you know, why is Robert Kraft traveling to a fucking massage parlor, like a fucking rub and tug in Jupiter? Like, you know, there's something appealing about, there must have been something about that particular parlor where like, and you like, fuck, they'll do really anything you ask, and they have nobody to go and scream to, like, you'll never get reported. There's a reason that gets him out of the house.
And so oh, go ahead. I didn't want to cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh, so all I was saying was that substituting humans or people that are alive with a robot, to me, solves a lot of those problems.
Yeah.
So
if you're
it
programmed,
serves
right? If it's a
public
program,
health problem, right?
Yep.
Right. If they're not alive, it solves a public health crisis. It solves a human trafficking crisis, And you could say also, shit. I'll say this now. I think that the legalization of prostitution and regulation of it would do more. Would definitely take strides in the same way toward.
Oh yeah, okay. So
these problems.
that was actually going to be my next point, is why we've actually talked about on the show why I think that, and you agree as well. I mean, we both have said why we think the legalization of prostitution is like it's insane that it's taken this long, and it doesn't really make sense, specifically from the standpoint of not saying like, oh man, all of a sudden, like, man, we really have been sitting here waiting, so that like, just let us know when it becomes available. Just text us because we'll be number one online. That is not the point. The point is
stop spreading. You can license
all of the
them,
shit from a
testing.
Right, from a legal or from a safety standpoint, yes, that goes without saying, right? If you're part of a union or whatever, and you have health, insurance that helps take care of you and make sure that you're safe, that's just good for everybody. So you're just stupid if you don't think that's beneficial. But more importantly, to your point, I'm not saying that like that. I specifically say because I do believe it is the more important factor than the health risks that it puts people at, because part of me does feel like currently as it stands, everyone takes the risks that they're willing to take when they engage into that world, right? So partially, if I had to weigh out the two sides, the risk of the guy who is potentially getting now it's a bummer when it goes the reverse, right? When a woman who's taking care of herself, who's the prostitute, gets infected with something, an STD or something from a shitty asshole like John, like that sucks to me. That's the worst. But like the guy, you take the risk, and I'm not saying that that's not shitty, but you take the risk when you go into that world. The more important thing to me is the risk, like you said, of we do definitely know about some stories of certain women or whatever that get involved in this because they're like, hey man, like I can make some money. It puts me through college or whatever. Yes. That is certainly not the fucking norm. The norm are people that get either pulled into it, dragged into it, start out maybe even as strippers and then somehow get fucking suckered into it or taken advantage of, maybe even at a young age get pulled into a thing that's fucking way more disgusting because of like age shit. Like all this kind of stuff where people that get abused or taken advantage, and some of it's just like literally people that are just, we know the old joke of like, oh, daddy issues and all that, right? But some girls are just girls who just grew up in bad situations, and then this seems to be the only recourse for them, and then they get pulled into this by somebody who takes advantage of that and then ends up like beating them or treating them like shit, or just kind of locking them in this cycle of fucking degradation, even if it's not like physical abuse. It's just like playing on their feelings of, unworthiness to turn them into this thing where this is the only way you'll ever get worth, is like guys just want to bang you, and doesn't that make you feel amazing that guys will pay you money to bang you? And it's like they play on this like this lack of self-worth. And so all of that shit could be alleviated by the fact that a business was made to be legal, because when you have to be run the exact same way that fucking, Amazon does or fucking McDonald's does, where your fucking manager needs to follow certain rules, and if you get fucking treated in a certain way, you have recourse to, to fucking go speak to somebody, and you can speak to HR and say, fuck this, like this guy's a dick. All of these things eliminate so much of those issues.
Or not?
What did I say?
This guy's a dick.
Oh yeah, my bad. Yes, the pun not intended. But I think like all of that shit could be alleviated by the idea of legalization of prostitution, and by its very nature, the idea of putting a completely inanimate, or not inanimate because that's not the case, a completely programmed robot that is, like you said, 100% non-self-aware, like guaranteed not self-aware, also would do the same thing. But I actually think that would be the negative way. That would be the more negative way to do it, because that would be the same thing as saying like, oh, we're going to replace these people on an assembly line with a robot that does the same thing. And you're like, well, yeah, in some ways maybe that's better, and maybe it's safer, and maybe it's whatever. But like in other ways that could be a bummer, because it like eliminates an entire job line from the economy that's for a human being to pursue, that gets now eliminated from the process. And in this case, I guess, I mean, this game has made a bit of a statement saying in some ways that these robots are like even better at sex. Now, the things we've read that say that, like, is that just marketing speak or is that actually true? You know, like it could be true. Like it's very possible, right? That if you program a thing to be excellent at it, it is it is very possible that it could just be better than the average person at actually doing it because it knows, like, down to the microsecond, like it knows the exact things it needs to do to make the moment be like perfect for you, which an average person wouldn't do. But that could also literally just be because we read that in a magazine from the company. It could just be them being like, even better than Sen. Like, you know, who knows if they're just saying that to sell their fucking sex robots. Right, yeah. So I think it's part of it is, well, if they're just as good as people, maybe that's not great because that's like, if you could legalize it, that's probably better across the board for everyone because that means the job is still available and open for people, but now it's protected and it's, you know, it's covered and it's taxed and it's, you know, it's has health coverage and all those things for women as opposed to or men, you know, for either sex who wants to do it. Versus having it just go to this company now that mass produces robots that do it and is going to, you know, be able to just sell it. But I think it's kind of an interesting topic. Also, I will say, 100%, just CraigMakk speaking, I would not throw any shade on anyone if that shit went down as being like a thing, any more so than I would assuming that it stayed in the same kind of, if it stayed in the shadows the way, you know, prostitution does now, I would throw the exact same shade that I do on somebody who I'm like, hey, you went and got a regular prostitute, like you said, like a blow up doll where you'd like make fun of somebody, be like, oh, you had to pay him for it, right?
Because the blow up doll, but the blow up doll is funny because it's just like weird. It's like a weird, like in between thing.
Oh, of
but
course,
if you went
absolutely.
And hired rented an android that looked, smelled, felt, you know, like a woman, and just happened to be an android, I'd be like, you know what, fucking more power to you. You know, have fun with
True,
that.
I think the alternative would be that I would probably still make fun of a friend because I'd be like, you had to pay for it instead of, like, because that's just like a shitty guy thing to do, like that we just make fun of that. But like, it would be the same way that I would just make fun of my friends for.
You know, you'd be opening yourself up to him coming back and ridiculing your marriage.
Of course. So
that's what guys. Something worked it out where they were like, it's cheaper and better to keep getting different prostitutes every week, you know, and then sending them on their way, as opposed to your fucking dating rituals and keeping a girlfriend.
Right, especially if you don't believe in monogamy at all. Like if you're like, the concept of staying with a person for the rest of your life is insane, which there are plenty of people out there that say it is.
There are
like,
a lot of people out there.
Right, so those people would have a good argument. So the point is, I guess my whole thing was that I was saying I would make fun of that in the same way that I insert joke here. I would make fun of a friend for it because that's just how I am. Like, I just would be like, you're giving me a reason to make fun of you, even if it's not even a valid one. I just make fun of people. Like, that's what I do. So that would be funny to me. But I don't not make fun of people. I would make fun of my friends. Right? What'd you say?
It'd be less funny or less like, it would be less fodder than if they had a blow up doll. Is what I'm saying.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Weird.
Absolutely, and like, yeah, it would not bother me at all. Like if it came down to a friend of mine being like, yo, dude, CraigMakk, like seriously, in all honesty, this is what I'm thinking of doing. Like if this was like a serious conversation, I would be like, yeah, dude, fucking do what you got to do. Like that shit wouldn't bother me at all. Whereas like I guaranteed, we know collectively between the two of us, we know guaranteed 5 people off the top of our, you know, head we could name that would be like, that's just fucking wrong, or it's gross, or what do you do? It's not, they're not a person, like you're disgusting, like, so that shit, I would not be on that page at all. One
of my friends made the mistake of, one of my fraternity brothers made the mistake of just casually dropping that he has a fleshlight, like on a chat.
Oh wow,
with like
good for
20
him.
of us. You know, and like it's
good
funny because I had other friends
to say that.
I had another friend who was like, when I was in the Marines, the dude was like, among our group of like 5 dudes that were sitting around, he was like, my wife hates it, but he was like, I went and I got myself a fucking fake pussy. He was like, women got dildos. He was like, why can't I get myself a fucking fake pussy? He's like, it's better than me going out and fucking other women. He was like, when she doesn't feel like it, he was like, when she's not in the mood, whatever, he's like, take that bitch in the bathroom, I fucking fake pussy. It's better than jerking off. Right, and like he put it that way, and motherfuckers left it alone. Like, yeah, I guess that logically makes sense. Like, you didn't convince, like, you didn't really make a believer out of me in that I want to do that. because it's kind of weird, and it's like it's weird for my taste, but it's like it makes logical sense when you think about it. But it's kind of weird for me, and I'm just kind of like not into it. So
I will say,
and frankly, I'm lazy. So
I was going to say from a hygiene standpoint, it seems like that's the worst part to me. The concept of like
no. Apparently that thing is built like the one he got. He described that too was like it was easy to clean out or whatever.
Okay, because I was going to say that is the part that sounds gross to me. That I'm like, man, like look, anyone who has ever jerked off knows the moment after you jerk off is not your best moment. Like nobody ever sitting there like nailed that one. That was fucking great. Like everyone, you sit there for a minute and you're like, well, oh, what the fuck, man. What a fucking slug am I, right? And that's if there's tissues involved or whatever, like shit that's relatively easy to clean up. Now imagine if you have a thing that you're like, now I got to take it over to the fucking dishwasher or whatever the fuck you do with it. Like you're not going to feel great about yourself. So that's the part. That's the part that makes it the hardest sell for me. Because I'm not going to lie, conceptually you're right. The idea, I've heard people talk about it. I'm like, hey, I'm not going to do it. But I hear where you're coming from. The idea of like, man, it's roughly equivalent to the idea of a dildo. It is. I mean, it is. It's literally actually. It's literally identical. It's identical to a dildo, just the reverse.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just,
and when he said it, I swear, I did not feel any kind of like, whoa, you're a weirdo. I would never do that. It was more just like, I'm not into it because it sounds like a lot of work. And I don't know. Like, it sounds like work researching one and then ordering it and then.
Because you don't want to buy the bad version of it, right? Like, you don't want to buy the one that got like 2 stars on Amazon. You're like, fuck! Man, I got the one that's like fucking like got sharp edges and shit, like so it fucking hurts and like you don't want to do all that. That's a bummer. Right. That's where you're like, I always know my hand will at least worst case scenario does exactly what it's been programmed to do for the last fucking X number of years since I've learned that it can be used for that. A fleshlight is a thing you gotta pay for and live in trust.
Yeah, and the dude, so the first guy, the guy in the Marine Corps, like the guy that announced that to us, he had a lot of credibility with this smaller group of us. It was like only like 5 of us that he told. And he was we were all just hanging out having lunch, and he just said that just casually dropped it.
Oh, this wasn't a chat. Like, this was face to face.
No, this was like face to face. We were all sitting like at a lunch table, just fucking having lunch or whatever, and the motherfucker just like had casually dropped it. And because we respect him, and he's a funny dude, and he told it like with confidence, so, like we just didn't even think twice about it, and we're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense, whatever, right? But then this other dude told the story like in a chat, and he's kind of like an out there dude that like sometimes he says really smart shit, and other times you're like, what the fucking planet do you live on? And then, so when he dropped it, right, like all of a sudden he became the quick object of ridicule, where it was like jokes for the next like 3 weeks, like like no matter what he said. Sometimes it didn't have anything to do with the subject, but like cats were like, yo, why don't you shut up and go fuck your fake pussy?
Right. That's a bummer for that guy. Like, he did not read the room very well, did he? You gotta, like, you have to come in fucking correct with that kind of comment. Like, if you're gonna make that comment, you have to, number one, know that you are saying it with 100% confidence, and number two, you probably have to be a little bit willing to mock it yourself, right? Like, you have to be able to be like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. Like, you guys can make fun of me right now, but X, Y, Z, and here's why. Because you have to know, if you try to come in too like fully supporting it, people are gonna be like, yo, whoa, dude, why are you trying to become like an infomercial for a fucking fleshlight? Like, what's the deal here? So you kind of have to know to walk that fine line. And like, this guy clearly
not to mention, he dropped it in a chat that was full of dudes that were like, these particular guys were like just like. They just fell into pussy whenever they felt like it. Like these were legitimately the type of dudes that like, they roll into a club and like will be fucking on the, like.
Okay, so for real, let me ask, were they for real, these guys, or are they guys that present themselves as those guys?
No, they're for real. No, they're for real. Like, I've hung out with them before. Like, these motherfuckers are like, like chicks throw themselves at them all the time and fucking, so like they're so then also when you drop that in a room full of dudes that are like that, and then so then they're like looking at you like, yo, what the fuck, you can't just pull a bitch.
So like, part of me actually now, I'm going full
It's
circle.
really easy.
Part of me is going full circle now, and I'm like, I kind of respect that dude dropped that knowledge in a room filled with dudes who just are constantly fucking, because he's like,
And honestly,
yo.
honestly, he does well for himself. I mean, like, he's not an ugly dude, and he does well for himself. He's just kind of like an out there guy. So,
Right, by the way, we are dangerously like treading on territory of like talking about fucking women, as if it's like this dude's killing it because he bangs a lot of chicks. Well, hey, what, dude? Look, you know, it is what it is. It's fine. I'm okay with it. I just want
to be honest, it doesn't impress me. That shit doesn't impress me. Like,
but that's what I'm saying.
I'm not.
That's the part I wanted to roll back in. I didn't want to make it seem
I'm
like we are guys sitting in a room that are like, oh, this dude fucks a lot, awesome. Like, that's not. That we are making comments about
dudes.
Right. We're making comments about things that happen around us.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't impress me because I've known enough guys. Like, I've got my fair share, and I'm not like number one. But I've done well for myself in my time, and it's just not a priority to me. I don't define myself by that.
Well, that part's the sadder part. Yeah, when you define yourself by it, but.
Yeah, no, but to some of these dudes, it's fucking sport.
Maybe know your audience is what you're saying.
They're good at it. Yeah.
Right. Know your audience.
They're good at it, and it's sport, and they do well.
Like maybe what I'm realizing what you're saying, Jest, is maybe had he come into our Discord server and said in our Discord server said that shit,
he might have got love.
Then maybe we would have been like, all right, like that shit's hilarious, like whatever, do you, man, that's cool. Like, and actually, if he had made the argument that your first dude said, like, you've been like, yo, you guys are stupid because here's X, Y, and Z reasons why, we would have been like, all right, fucking preach on, dude. Like, actually, what you're saying makes sense because our Discord server is a little bit more. A little bit less aggro, right? A little bit more open about it.
He could have provided the best reasons, and these dudes were like, "Wait, so you're saying you can't pull bitches at a club? Is that what you're saying?"
So this is also, yes, this is also the perfect reason why we should dump out to people. If you at all give a shit about anything that we are talking about right now, if you are all interested about the conversations that we are having, also, number one, I apologize if you do. If you like this conversation, man, I'm sorry. But if you are enjoying us talk about this bullshit, the conversation that I said, hey, I don't want to talk about this shit for 2 hours, yet we are still going to talk about it for fucking hours anyway. But if you would like this, if you would like to hear more about what we talk about when we do live from the man cave, come check us out on our Discord server, which is it's a room you can come in. We have a whole bunch of shit set up. You can talk about shit we're watching, beers we're drinking, games we're playing. The podcast itself, we talk about the most recent. Flashlights we're fucking but just
what our favorite flashlight is.
That's where we put in direct links to buy this shit on Amazon for fucking deals, man. We'll tell you exactly deals on deals on deals on deals on. No, but so we will let you know what we're talking about all the time. There's all kinds of shit.
You can rent the official Live from the Man Cave flashlight that both CraigMakk and I have used at some point.
Yes. You do have to send it back, though. That's very important. It's very important. You have to send it back because it will be reused on the show.
What we call spreading the love.
Right, exactly. That's gross. And now I feel uncomfortable. Really the joke went a little too far. I thought I was open-minded, Jest, and I realized right there, I'm not as open-minded as I thought. That joke was a little bit too gross for me.
We just played gay chicken.
All right. On that note, dude, this has been a very good show. I've enjoyed this one. It's been a lot of CraigMakk sucking at video games and then talking a lot about fucking. I don't know. This is just overall really a good one. We covered all the things we need. Sucking and fucking with CraigMakk on the back of the T-shirt. Live from the Man Cave.
Live from the Man Cave. Or that could actually be like our next project.
Is that what we're gonna call it? It's just gonna be called Sucking and Fucking with CraigMakk.
Yep.
All right. I'm down with that.
This is the version of Live from the Man Cave where we live stream like porn.
Yes, let me ask you.
Hey, you do it like the Mystery 3000 Science Theater version where like
right.
But it's just you in a theater, right? And then you can see the porn in the background, but you're like making like jerk off motion sounds, like your silhouette is doing that in front of the screen.
I feel like this could actually pick up. This could pick up some steam. Yeah. I like it. I'm down with it.
It's gonna go viral.
All right, so that's our next one. So stay tuned for Sucking and Fucking with CraigMakk. But anyway, Live from the Man Cave is our main podcast. Ready Player 2 is our side project. Live from the MCU is our other side project we're doing where we're playing tabletop games with our good friend Jim Sardonic, which is also amazing.
Yeah.
You should come check that shit out. There's a whole lot of shit. Everything go check out at livemancave.com. That's kind of our central hub for everything. That's where all of our links to everything that we've been doing is going on. And I don't know. The only thing I do want to ask, Jess, what do you think about the Troganator as you are now, fully? I guess you have finished at least one of them. Did it hold up? Did it turn out to be great?
Definitely, yeah. Yes, and they're
awesome.
I may have done it a little injustice by, like we say, they're really cold. I think my mini fridge is set to like too high a cold level.
Okay.
Just because they were like really cold to where like maybe especially the more I drank of them, the
how many did you have?
The floats to 12 ounces.
Nice.
Which I mean, it gave me a slight buzz. Just because 8.2. But the more I drank of them, the less the color, the flavors blended more together instead of being like a watch me go down this road thing. Maybe because they were colder or whatever. No, it was good. Solid beer all the way through. Like nice. Even blended, it's just really, really good. I love
Trogs
this
is
company.
Good beer. Trogs is
and
good.
I want
Is a good beer.
Now it makes me miss Mad Elf, man. I really want some more Mad Elf.
Well,
I guess I'll have to wait till next Christmas.
You may get one sooner than you think. I'm just gonna throw that out there. I'm gonna throw that out there. I'm gonna let that lie. We're gonna figure out what that means for our next episode of Live from the Man Cave. Mm-hmm. But on that note, I think it is time for us to call it quits for tonight on this episode, at least. And
are you thinking about doing another one?
I don't know, Just am I? Let's see.
Well, I've got a Red Bull and a whole different type of beer ready to go.
God! All right, sold. Problem solved. We will see you in 5 more minutes on the next episode of Ready Player 2. Thank you very much for coming and checking us out.
It's going to be called, by the way, the next one is going to be Kara, and it's going to be the Pirate's Cove.
Cool. All right, welcome.
Another
we will see
great
you
episode.
We will see you in a few minutes. Oh, is this going to be another episode that's apparently great until I fuck it up? Because sucking and fucking with CraigMakk. All right, man. I'll talk to you in a minute. See you later. Peace.